guys, and welcome to the DBGA podcast, a podcast where we interview top level executives inside leading and growing companies in the beauty and e commerce industry. Excited to have our guest today, Jimmy Gould. We'll be diving into his story and a little bit about what his company does and some engaging insights in the beauty industry. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to you, Jimmy. Could you please introduce yourself and tell a quick snippet of your story and your background prior to working at SoapStandle?
Sure. As Rachel said, Jimmy Gould in Memphis, Tennessee. I developed and patented, and now we're manufacturing the SoapStandle, which is a really simple device. It is, oh, sorry. Should have had this out. But it is a small oval that goes into the bottom of a bar of soap, so that when you use the bar and you set it down, that's enough of a platform that all the water can drain off. Air can circulate 360 degrees, so the bar dries completely. When that happens, no goo develops on the bar that typically develops when moisture is trapped on the surface of the bar between wherever it's resting. Since it can dry completely, the bar lasts about 20 or 30% longer. It doesn't have the mess on the sink counter or the shower ledge. And those grooves are a convenient place for your fingers to rest, so you don't drop the bar, it doesn't slip out of your hands. So that's it. It's very simple. It's easy to manufacture, but it applies to literally billions of people on the planet because soap is so ubiquitous. I mean, everyone uses soap, and tons of people still use bar soap. The single biggest reason consumers give for using liquid soap is to avoid the mess that a bar creates when that water is trapped. So we've eliminated that problem. And we've seen a lot of people come back to bar soap from liquid soap use, which is, really an environmental train wreck when you consider all the plastic surrounding the packaging, the containers. It's 70% water, so there's a huge carbon footprint on just transporting it. All those things are part of the SoapStandle story.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing this. And so you kind of touch upon how you got into the beauty industry, but what is about your job or industry that you're passionate about?
Well, every day we wake up with the idea that there are a lot of people that don't know about a SoapStandle, but that will benefit from it. Just the simple avoidance of the mess that bothers so many people. That's probably the most, primary thing when you start your day. Many people are just, faced with this gooey bar of soap, and it's not ruining anyone's life, but it is a constant irritation, or at least that's what we've discovered in people that we've talked to that really like this. But in addition, when you think about the ramifications of the plastic use and what's going into our rivers and oceans and landfills, that could be a pretty profound effect too. There are 100 billion pieces of plastic that are getting disposed of each year. So if we can be a part of that solution, that's one thing that really drives what we do.
Yeah, and like you said, I think there's also a lot of companies right now that are being that measure the impact that packaging and the way we operate can impact negatively the environment. So more and more, because also consumers are interested in consuming products that are more respectful to the environment.
Sure.
So, um, in terms of trends in the industry, besides that aspect, what are the current trends in the market that you are aware of? What winds are blowing? What are you noticing?
Well, I mean, a huge prevailing wind is that plastic avoidance. When you look at Europe and the single-use plastic ban, that drives, well, that's driven certainly product development and product manufacturing in Europe. It's had an impact here, starting in California. We've run into people that certainly care a lot more about what material we're using. And a couple of years ago, we moved to post-consumer recycled plastic, which puts us on the right end of the environmental conversation, I think. We've investigated biodegradable, but that probably isn't as good a solution for what we've got, since you can use the SoapStandle time after time after time. One of the metrics that we look at is a SoapStandle is 3 grams of plastic that you can use time after time. The typical liquid soap container is 60 grams of plastic that you toss in the trash. Let's say you use 10 of those a year. That's 600 grams of plastic versus 3 grams of plastic that you'll reuse time after time on a bar. So that's a difference of 200 times of magnitude of plastic being disposed. So that's certainly a trend that is being noticed. It's being embraced in the U.S. more, and around the world. Europe has kind of led the way on that, and we see that in what materials the chemical companies are researching, what they're putting forward, alternate materials. I mean, we're investigating injection molding with glass. I don't think that's really probably a practical solution for us yet, because we're worried about breakage. If something breaks in the shower, that would be bad. But it's certainly driving the investigation of all these different materials, bamboo, different types of paper. How can we package things? How can we make things that are all more environmentally aware?
Okay, very interesting. Thank you for sharing this. I want to transition a little bit and learn a bit more about SoapStandle. So could you tell me about your company and what products are over at SoapStandle?
Sure. Well, we developed the initial SoapStandles, just the flat version that goes on a flat bar of soap. The really big mass-produced soaps like Dove and Caress and Irish Spring, those are molded in a mold that's different than the big pieces that are cut into those squares. So a lot of those are curved, and so we've developed a curved SoapStandle for the Doves of the world. We've got a mini that is the size of a U.S. half dollar that is great on shampoo and conditioner bars. That's a Lush bar. It's just the perfect size. And since these have a pretty high moisture content to start with, they get mushy really fast. So the SoapStandle is terrific on allowing the water to drain. And then we've been told, as we want to be in bigger retail situations, that it's important to have a line of products. We didn't want to just throw a soap dish out there or things that might be in the soap space but weren't really related to what we do. But as we discover things that are a fit, we want to come out with those. One of those, I mean, some people just want a soap dish, just cosmetically. They want it placed on the sink counter. That's the SoapStandle soap dish. And so instead of a bar that just sits on top of a soap dish, and that's where that goo develops because the water can't escape, the SoapStandle sits on that
Okay,
cutout
got it.
portion. And so all the water can continue to escape, air can circulate, the bar dries completely. That's taking the same approach to the travel case. Since the SoapStandle is attached to the bar, if we can attach the SoapStandle to the case, then the bar isn't going to move around. No matter the orientation of the case, this tab, a little orange tab, slides into a slot in the SoapStandle, and that's what fixes it in place. So when you're traveling and it's in your luggage or your backpack or whatever, it's moving all around, the bar isn't hitting the sides and getting the interior of the case all messy, which currently is all that is out there. So we were able to get this patented. We'll be producing it within the next few months. And that's going to be the best soap case in the world.
Yeah.
So we're excited
I'm
about it.
familiar. Yeah, I'm familiar about the soap bar going all around the little case, and like
Right.
it gets messy. So
Yeah, it's nasty. Or, you throw it in a plastic bag and that ends up all gross. And yeah, so there are all sorts of unattractive results that happen with that. And we're pretty excited about this.
yeah, definitely. So you kind of touched upon this already, but I really want to give you the chance to dive into this question. Could you explain me what unique value do SoapStandle products bring to your customers?
Well, it's I think there are a number of answers to that, but probably the biggest one is just the annoyance that people have. I mean, it ranges from, a mom who has, and these are all actual emails that and reviews that we've gotten. A mom with four boys that none of them pay attention to what she asks them to do, as far as, putting the soap up somewhere or getting it out of the water, or um, just various things that contribute to that bar of soap becoming a big gooey blob. Well, she bought six soap sandals, and they all are on those bars of soap, and now she doesn't have to go around and clean all that stuff up. So she's happy. The woman who bought the soap sandal for her husband because he just his portion of the shower and that little dish that the bar sits on was just constantly filled with gooey stuff. The woman whose dad has Parkinson's, and he couldn't bathe himself anymore because he literally just couldn't hold on to the bar. Didn't have the strength, didn't have the dexterity. Well, with a soap stand attached, he can do that now. And in her words, he regained his dignity. So that's one of the best emails we've gotten.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure.
so and then the household that says we haven't used bar soap in 15 years, but we're all very aware, and the kids brought it up that we don't need to be using all this plastic. So they found soap standles, and now they don't use liquid soap anymore. They're all bars. So those are the kinds of things that you know it's not degenerating. It's getting rid of the mess. It's helping someone regain their dignity. Those are lots of different things, but they're all meaningful to the people that are using it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now I want to transition a little bit and ask you. So you're the founder at SoapStandle, and
Right.
I want to know what are some of the challenges that you encounter as the founder of SoapStandle? What do the day-to-day challenges look like?
Well, part of the challenge is that I came into this pretty ignorant of of how to run a small company, or how to. I mean, I was in the investment business for 30 years before stumbling upon SoapStandle and wanting to see where it could go. Um, I I sold bonds to institutions. So there were institutional investors, smart people. I had one job, just to sell the stuff, and then the rest of the transaction would be passed on to an assistant and an operations group. If there were legal questions involved, there was legal department, advertising, all those things. I had one hat to wear. When I started this, I discovered that there were more hats than I realized. I didn't know anything about manufacturing, legal, packaging, shipping, um, human resources, any of those things. And I've encountered all of them now. I've got a lot of professionals that are in place, good legal work on the IP side, got, top notch accounting, all those kinds of things that are all pretty expensive to, have these pros that you've hired from outside. We've added our first permanent employee about 6 months ago. Very excited about that. Really sharp young woman that is our operations manager, and she does a lot more than just operations manager. She does everything that needs to be done. Um, but those are all, those are all, you've heard the phrase known unknowns and unknown unknowns. A lot of these were unknown unknowns until you encounter them. And then you just try to handle it the best you can. So, I think we've been pretty lucky that we've handled most of the things that have come up relatively well, or at least I'll try to fool myself that they've been handled relatively well. Not all of them, but we haven't stubbed our toe too badly that it's knocked us out of doing what we need to do.
Yeah, like you said, being a business owner, you have to wear so many hats. So now I want to ask you, what type of mindset do you think is needed to be a successful business owner?
Um, you just got to keep trying because I mean you're inevitably you're going to face roadblocks. You're going to trip. Hopefully, you don't fall too badly, but you just have to keep going. If there's any type of sales involved, you're going to get lots of no's. I think that is one advantage that I had is that I was involved in sales for 30 years, and it's very true. Each no that you get gets you closer to a yes, and it's being able to tap into that mindset that is important because it can be really frustrating. And if you hit a stretch of a lot of no's, it's tough to get back to it. So I think that perseverance is, and it's not every day. I mean, you can't rely on that optimism every single day, but you got to be able to get to it pretty frequently, or it's going to wear on you. And so I think generally I'm an optimistic person, so that helps. But yeah, you've either got to fake it till you make it, or just keep going, or however people want to describe it. But yeah, it's coming in every day and just kind of doing what you need to do.
Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing this. Definitely agree with this. Now I want to transition a little bit because, as you know, we're a data analytics company, so I'm always curious to hear about others people's experiences when it comes to data analytics in the industry. So I want to ask you, in your experience, how does data influence decision making and strategies in the beauty industry?
Well, from my perspective, I'm still learning about that, and I mean, certainly the most immediate presentation of data is, what are we spending on advertising? How is that translating to number of exposures? What's the conversion rate on that? And then how does that drive revenue? And that's one thing that we're still trying to figure out. A relatively low priced product and the ad spend, we haven't pursued quite so much on our e-commerce site, SoapStandle.com, but we've learned a lot of lessons through Amazon, and it's difficult because we can advertise, we can get eyeballs, we can get conversion, but if we were a $50 product and spending to drive a sale, that's the numbers come out a lot differently in a $50 product versus a $14 product. So it's trying to find that sweet spot, and that's, I mean, we're still struggling with figuring that out. Fortunately, we've got some wholesale relationships that are providing a lot of revenue while we figure the online um, data out. So, that's, and I love that balance. Well, right now it's not even very balanced. It's much more on the wholesale side, but we're working towards trying to get that balance. and trying to learn through the data, um, you know, where we need to emphasize and how it drives those advertising decisions.
Okay, very interesting. And so you mentioned a little bit during our conversation some projects that you have for the future, the new products coming, focusing on data as well. But overall, what's your vision for the next 12 months?
Well, we were just out at the Expo West show in Anaheim, California. I had a lot of great conversations there. The purpose of that was to get in touch with more national retail type distribution. So I'd say the last 9 months, we've really been focused on developing these lines of products: the soap platform, the mini, the curved, the travel case. And so we've spent a lot of time and a lot of money on developing all of that. And then Expo West exposing those new products to a range of bigger retail seemed to make a lot of sense. So now we have to go convert those conversations into real relationships and get a lot on a lot of shelves and make people aware that this solution that they didn't even know, they knew they had a problem, but it was, soap's been around for so long. It's just an accepted problem, that's how soap behaves. Now we've got something that actually makes soap behave the way it should. And we just we have to make a few 100 million people aware of that.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's a lot to do in 12 months.
Yeah. It's going to be a busy year.
Right. I think so. I hope so. Right.
Yeah, that's good. Now I have a last question. It's a loaded one, but I think it's interesting
Okay.
to kind of wrap things up. What are some of the most important things you've learned in your career?
Well, I'd say first that optimism. Um, I'd say to not take oneself too seriously. That it things can seem daunting, but if you've there you know there are always positives you can find, and so you need to tap into those. Um, I had early in my sales and stock brokerage career, there was an older guy that we were all at a conference and we were talking about the workday and getting into the office and doing what you need to do. And a number of people talked about that we worked hard and it was important to work hard and people should recognize the value of that and that just I don't know, some people were kind of patting themselves on the back. Well, this older guy got up and he said, let me tell you about working hard. He said, working hard is plowing a field behind the ass end of a mule, which he did as a kid. He was from Kentucky. He's out there in the sun, and he was killing himself to do that, and that's why he became a stockbroker, because he didn't want to work like that. But his point was that we sit in an air-conditioned office and talk on the telephone. You know, that's it may not be easy, but that's not hard work. So I think any of us that are fortunate enough to not be doing backbreaking things and to employ our minds and figure things out, we're pretty lucky. And I think keeping that in mind is a way to stay sane, and it's a way to be successful.
That's a very good one. Very good one. Thank you for sharing this.
Sure.
And yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Now, for the people that are listening or watching and that want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
It's pretty easy. Jimmy at SoapStandle.com, or just go to SoapStandle.com. There's a way to communicate within the portal. And that's SOAP, like soap, ST as in Tom, ANDLE. It's like stand and handle shoved together.
Okay, awesome. I'll put all that information in the
Right.
description. for people to have access to it. And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks, Rachel.